Hey friends, so a couple real quick announcements. So if you watched the video I put out on Tuesday, then you know that I've been running a Patreon campaign this whole week, and excitingly, we hit our first 2 goals. You guys are fucking amazing, and you came through, and I appreciate the support so much. So because we hit those first 2 goals, it means I'm gonna be producing some new, regular content, which I'm real excited about. Hitting the first goal means that I'm gonna be doing a monthly live stream on this channel for everyone, and hitting the second goal means that if you are signed up for the $2 tier on my Patreon, then you will have access to a monthly newsletter that I'm gonna start putting out. If you're not currently set up for that tier, but you want access to the newsletter, I'm gonna link my Patreon below, so go do that if that's a thing that you want in your life and your inbox. Hi, Stuart. This is gonna be kind of a laid-back video, but for next week, I'm working on a script for a video about white guilt, and I'm very excited and also nervous about it. So, that's fun. My mentions are a mess! Anyway, I mentioned in my last video that I graduated from college about 6 months ago, and people who have been following me on here for the last 5 years, I have regularly talked about my college experience, the good and the bad. But if you followed me on Tumblr last year and the year before that, then you know that the last 2 years of my college experience were really a struggle for me. Partially, it was a financial burden because I paid for college entirely on my own. I didn't have any help from my parents because I come from a lower middle class family, so they literally could not afford to do that. So it was kind of frustrating for me to see all of my high school classmates going off to college and having their parents pay for everything and pay to stay in a dorm, and they could go to any expensive school they wanted and they were going to be able to afford it, because that was not my reality. But I also felt like a lot of those were the students who ended up not appreciating their college experience as much. So I am grateful that I was able to understand the value of my education. Aside from that, especially towards the end of my college experience, my biggest issue was mental health. By the last year and a half, I'd been in college for so long, it took me 5.5 years to get through college, so I was very ready to be done with it by that point. I think it's normal for most college seniors to be super ready to be done with school by their last semesters, but compounded with my depression and anxiety, it made college one of the biggest struggles for me. I don't know how to explain how difficult it was for me to get out of bed every morning and try and make myself go to school. I don't know how to explain the lack of motivation and the sheer dread of having to go to class every day. It's a very unique feeling to depression and anxiety, I think. And while I did experience that in high school and my early years in college, I had never experienced it to that level, where every single day I was just filled with dread and anxiety. I'm someone who's always valued education, and I've been really good in academic environments. I was an honors student in high school. I was on the dean's list at my university. School has always been something that I've been super comfortable with and confident in my abilities, and it's felt natural to me. But the thing about having depression and anxiety is it completely strips you of any motivation or any will to move forward or to do things that were once important to you. I got to a point during my second to last semester of school where I was taking a senior seminar class that was very rigorous. Voluntarily, I had signed up to take an independent research course that basically students get to design their own class and their own field of research, and you work with a professor who sets up guidelines and maybe assists you with finding certain readings, and by the end of the course you're supposed to produce a 20-page research paper. For my area of research, I was looking at the intersection of sexism and mental health stigma and how those two things combine when you are a mentally ill woman. That's still something I find super fascinating. I made a whole video on it, and I regularly talk about mental illness and sexism and things like that. So it was kind of like the perfect research project for me. But despite being really interested in the project, my course load and the amount of obligations I had for school and also working part-time and having a YouTube channel, I couldn't balance it all. And having depression and anxiety, maybe if I didn't have those things, I would have been able to handle it, but having all of those competing factors, I literally could not do it all. It basically culminated in me having to go meet with my professor who was overseeing my project, and he also happened to be my professor for my senior seminar class. I think he was an amazing professor. He was super well researched, very thoughtful. He put his courses together. They were difficult and they were rigorous, but he put a lot of care into creating courses that were balanced. It was also a really big deal when he started working at our school because he was the only professor in the social sciences department whose area of research was in trans issues, which was really fucking cool. He was just very compassionate and smart and so good looking. Very handsome. I'm pretty sure most people who had classes with him had a crush on him because we definitely would talk about it. So I basically had to go talk to this professor who I really respected. I had a little crush on. He was kind of intimidating because he was pretty serious. So I basically had to go and tell him that I felt like a failure and I had to drop the course. I went into his office, I kind of broke down and was just like, I'm so fucking anxious. I don't think I can do this. And that was really scary and I was so nervous about it. I think I've told this story before, but I talked to him about it and I was honest about my mental health issues, and he opened up to me about his own mental health issues and said that he also had anxiety and he understood. And it was kind of incredible to me, honestly. I still think about it. Having a professor who was open and honest and basically said, as an academic, that you should prioritize your mental health over academia. It was like the most helpful thing for me to hear. Did that fix all of my problems? No. Did I still have depression and anxiety and a massive amount of stress about school? Absolutely. But I think dropping that course prevented me from having a mental breakdown, honestly, because I would not have been able to do all of those courses and get all of my work done and manage to pass. I physically and mentally would not have been able to do that. My mental health still fucking sucked for those last 2 semesters. And every single day I would tell my boyfriend and my roommate that I wanted to drop out. I hated going to school. I hated it so much. I don't think I would have followed through if I hadn't already gotten that far, but I made myself do it. I'm proud of myself for doing it, but I also want to respect the fact that it was hard. It was incredibly hard and it took a toll on my mental health. And that's kind of why I don't think that college is for everyone, honestly. I think a lot of the time college fosters an environment that is incredibly detrimental to mental health, especially if you already struggle with mental illness. It makes students who aren't mentally ill super anxious and stressed all the time. So if you are mentally ill, it's just gonna make it 10 times worse. And while a lot of colleges have mental health resources, I find that they don't always work. I don't think it's the most accessible to a lot of people. I just want to say that if you're in college and you're struggling with mental illness, I support you. I recognize your struggle and I understand how fucking hard it is. If you're someone who's had to take a break from college or drop out or might be getting bad grades, I understand where you're coming from and I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're choosing to prioritize yourself, and I respect that. Yeah. I don't know why I'm like so emotional about this. I've like cried multiple times trying to make this video. I don't know why. I don't normally cry during videos, but this is the one thing that gets me apparently. Anyway, if you are someone who has been a college student, is currently a college student, and has managed to balance mental illness and school, or, you know, it didn't work out for you and you couldn't do that, I'd be really interested in hearing your stories. Because honestly, that was super helpful for me when I was dealing with it, was hearing other people saying I dropped out and it was okay. I didn't drop out, but like knowing that that would have been okay, the world wouldn't end if I dropped out of school, was weirdly helpful for me. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this one. Also, this is completely voluntary, but if you would like to help support this channel and Feminist Fridays, then please consider donating to my Patreon page, which will be linked below.